Hello and welcome to Vagrus The Riven Realms. This is a game still in development, and if you'd like to check it out, there is a link in the description. Now, all over the Steam store page, there is a warning. It says, this game is hardcore. You should probably play the free prologue if you're a bit worried about that, and there's a fair amount of reading involved as well. So, obviously, there's a lot of reason to maybe be a little bit wary, but me, no, I'm just gonna go straight on in there. This is a pure first impressions of this game. This is the first time I booted it up, and we're gonna be playing the intro, and you can see here that it's also a game where success is by no means guaranteed. You will probably lose everything several times before getting the hang of leading your traveling company. This is a turn-based RPG of sorts, and it is very hardcore, as I've said before. So, let's give it a go, shall we?
The River Realms, they call it. What a fine poetic name for something as rotten and twisted as our land has become. It was not always so. Long ago, the old empire, the noblest and most enduring society created by humankind, spanned almost the entire continent of Zerine, the cradle of man. But after several millennia of progress and incomparable achievements, inevitably, the empire began to fall into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their privileges and resisting change while trying to avert the collapse of the realm, the emperor and his theocracy took to measures that were worthy of true despots in cruelty. Subjugating weaker realms, enslaving whole nations, strip mining foreign resources, oppressing imperial citizens, war on several fronts, genocide. Eventually, the gods could no longer tolerate such horrors wrought in their name. Foretold by an abundance of divine omens, they descended upon the empire to right its wrongs. Thus, in a chain of dreadful events that became known as the Calamity, they annihilated the empire in a matter of days. The gods then finally saw what they had done in their anger and confusion. It is said that so much grief and shame filled them that they were broken, and they left this reality, never to return. The continent and its inhabitants seemed dead, but at length survivors began to crawl out of their hiding holes and faced a land that no longer welcomed them. Arcane anomalies, the fallout of the Calamity, now riddled the continent, and people realized that they had to share their new home with changed and twisted creatures. Terrible beings entered through the cracks in the tapestry of reality and rose to rule over the natives. In time, these new powers rebuilt the fallen empire in their own image, and the River Realms, now godless and vengeful, reincarnated from the ashes. The inhabitants of the land, such as I, now eke out a living under the crushing rule of the new empire. The continent itself constantly resists our every attempt at building a cozy home for ourselves. As travel is dangerous, many ventures specialize in transferring cargo and passengers over bleak and deadly leagues of land. Others try to take everything of value from said travelers, or attempt to find buried treasures among the ruins of the old empire. The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the River Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
Well, that is a very interesting introduction right there. And so it's Vagrus, actually. Vagrus is the pronunciation, not Vagrus. Okay, my bad. Anyway, there we are. Okay, so These are the known issues that you may find in the game, but obviously it is still in development, so do bear that in mind. I'm just going to click on New Game straight away, and now we can select a game mode. So we have, this is the way Vagrus was intended to be played by the developers. The setting is a cruel, harsh, unforgiving place, and so the game will not pull any punches. Expect a steep difficulty curve and little to no hand-holding. Save often because you will probably run into dead ends and deaths from time to time. And then you have the other mode, which is tailored more towards a narrative experience, and combat management and almost all other aspects of gameplay are less challenging. The result is a smoother difficulty at the cost of alignment with the setting, causing a certain dissonance. And achievements are turned off in this mode. Well, personally, I don't really care about achievements. I'm not really caring about that too much, but I really do want to play the game the way it was intended by the developers, so we're going to be playing on the harshest mode possible. Let's do it. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Ah, yes, a Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
Oh, okay, so is this the introduction? This is basically like the introduction quest, I suppose. So, shall we try it? I have no idea, you see? This is the thing. This is the amazing thing about the pure first impressions, because I have no idea what's going to happen, and I hope neither do you, because then we're going to experience it all together at the same time. All right, let's have a look at this.
Wise you are, good master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, traveling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west. This comitatus I speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. Hierophants, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrapheap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Welcome to Pilgrims of the Wasteland, a standalone story in the game. It serves as an introduction to the setting and also as a tutorial. It behooves you to read the tutorial text and follow the instructions to gain a better understanding of how the game works. This is going to be very important. This is the main reason why I actually wanted to start this off without knowing anything about the game, because it is a very hardcore experience, as I said before, and I think that I personally probably wouldn't do the best job of explaining that to you, even if I had played this before. So I think in general, because the game is quite obviously well taken care of and the development team is oozing with passion for the project, that it's probably best if they explain it to you rather than me. Anyway, although Vagrus is an open world game due to Pilgrims of the Wasteland being a tutorial, it progresses along a narrow guided path in the beginning and opens up only later, after the core mechanics have been introduced. Alright, so here we go. We have a huge amount of different statistics up here, so we've got to be a little bit more aware of what's going on there. We've got our money as well, as you can see right there. We have silver, bronze, copper. Well, technically you actually have bros, lieg, and changas or changes. I have no idea how they pronounce that, but we'll see. On the campaign map, your comitatus, the traveling company, always occupies a node and moves between nodes through paths. Moving along paths costs movement points indicated next to each path. Every in-game day, you have a number of movement points to spend before you need to camp. To move, click on a nearby node and select Move from the radial menu. You can select a node that is farther away. The movement point cost of moving there will be calculated and the path highlighted. Move to scrap heaps, so if we do that, we can go like this. Aha, and now we actually encounter other events, and this is where things start to become very intriguing indeed, because choices actually do have an impact in this game, and I have been warned about them. I have been warned about them, oh yes. Anyway, most of the story is presented through interactive texts called events. Events let you make different choices at each step. Some choices can have a number of consequences, while others have various dependencies. Dependencies mean that you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite, skills, perks, characters, and so on. To select a choice, click on it or use 1 to 9 to select the one you like. Navigate this event to its end. Alright, so let's have a look here. Having gone ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your comitatus slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, the hills smolder lazily in the perpetual twilight. "Are you alright?" Javek's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him, your gaze lost in the distance where ash cloaks the horizon, and the towering mountains to the south and west. You turn to your commes and note his supportive smile. You and Javek have been traveling the realms together for years now. There is no person in the world you trust more than him, except perhaps yourself. "I know you feel that your hands are tied, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here." Alright, so then we have 4 options to select from. Time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot and you know it. There wasn't much of a choice. Either this or returning my trading license and hanging myself. Well, that would not be too good. It has to work. We cannot fail. Not like this. Or we can say thank you. But the last thing I need right now is a clumsy pep talk, even if it's well meant. Okay, well, we'll say the first one. Javek nods. "True, but it's better than just giving up. The crew agrees too. That counts for something, no?" It does, yes. Good to know that they still have faith in me as their Vagrus. Or we can say, perhaps they are just as desperate as I am. Or we can say, it doesn't change a thing about our predicament, so why should I care? Ooh, okay, so yeah, hugely different personality types on display here. I'm going to say 1 again. "They do have faith in you still," Javek says. It should not come as a surprise, since you have known and traveled with most of them for years and years. Some founding members of the Comitatus you could trust with your life, but you have heard stories before about Vagri who have been abandoned for less. "Times being what they are," Javek trails off, "with Imperials cracking down on us independents more heavily than before, business is tough, everyone knows, and they appreciate your efforts to keep us floating. Our plan ought to give us another chance." The plan. You talked your traveling company into this a few weeks ago, but with each step towards the Western Mountains, more and more of them started to have doubts. Such is the way of the road, perhaps. The plan involves a desperate attempt at squeezing a low selling price for metal bits out of an old contact of yours in the town of Scrap Heap, stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin, and bringing the cargo down south around the Molten Tongue to Devon, via Avernum and Ash. There is a shortage of metal in Devon, and you know several buyers who would give a pretty price for your goods if you can only make it there before many others with a similar cargo do. Such contacts are the boon of the long decades spent on the road. But even if Narbo, that villain, gave you an agreeable price in Scrap Heap, the road is not without its perils. Sneaking through the gap between the Dead Forest and the Molten Tongue is inviting disaster, so it is not a path many Vagri would risk. And of course, if this fails, you are out of alternatives. "Do you think Narbo will help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill," Javek wonders. Okay, so we also have a little bit of a tutorial text here. When text in an event is highlighted pale blue, it means that you found a codex entry. Clicking these opens the codex and navigates you to the entry. So if you want to find out more about Scrap Heap or the Molten Tongue or any of these other areas, then you can, of course, click on those. But I'm going to be selecting one of these for now. One can only hope. I haven't seen him in years, but we always did good business. That said, you're not sure he would remember you, or if is he alive at all. Okay. If he is not willing, we must find a way to compel him. Ooh, yeah, I'm going to say number 2. I think that sounds fun. Or we have to actually open the codex. Yes, we actually have to open the codex. Okay. Well, that is absolutely fine. No problem at all there. They did say to me, by the way, on the loading screen that the journal is very important because the journal does give you a basic idea of where you need to go, what you need to do, and it gives you clues as to, you know, what you should be aiming for in the event that you may get lost. But obviously this is just the codex and probably not the journal, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, there we go. Alright, we're going to say number 2. These are dark times, they call for desperate deeds, but such thoughts make me uncomfortable, to be honest. Javek rubs his chin absent-mindedly. You have seen this expression of his too often not to realize he is using his sorcerer's talent to read your mind. Taking a peek. Apologies. Javek rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is. It comes to me so naturally that sometimes I don't notice I'm doing it. Your thoughts were loud, Vagrus. I have to actually block them, you see. After joining your comitatus 6 years ago, Javek proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he is also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energies. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there are his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Not a pretty sight, but a very effective deterrence. Yet, because he is not a trained sorcerer, at least not in the traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he has kept his abilities a secret for many years overall. But you can't keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of a comitatus, especially not if you keep bursting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there are only a handful of your commes who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years, certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he is less in control now, which suggests he is more on edge about this whole trip than he lets on. Right, so we have 2 options. Apology accepted, you manage a faint smile, let us return to the others and push on. There's still a day's travel ahead of us. Or, just make sure it does not happen again, you grumble, as you start to make your way down the ridge and back to the column. A long day of travel awaits you. I'm going to say apology accepted, because I feel like if we've been traveling with this guy for so long, I feel like he definitely deserves a little bit of leniency, but obviously if he's going to shatter my mind at some point, well, then that's obviously a bit of a problem. Both of you head west to join the column. You go back to the comitatus.
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrap Heap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivanda Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
And so, when a comitatus enters a settlement, you can select from a variety of options, each on its separate pane, revolving around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to initiate stories located in the settlement. Okay, this time only the story pane is active. Follow the only available story. Here we go. Alright, yes, we will do exactly that. And so, let's do it. You make your way to the Wraith's Stash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King, but not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Narbo and his little operation of honest merchants. Apparently the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javek, you leave the comitatus to the care of Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone negotiating. Ash is flitting from the black sky as you cross the street and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce it. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger, and of course they have no idea what Javek is capable of should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Narbo one never knows. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back, the entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large heap lizard on display. Narbo is sitting at a table in the back, his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Alright. So, okay, now this is... Alright, well, we are here for a very specific reason, so my choice is going to be that we're going to make our way confidently over to Narbo. To be fair, if this was real life, I probably would not make my way confidently over to him. I'd probably walk over to the bar. That would be the thing that I'd... You know what? Let's actually do what I'd do in real life. How about that? So I'm going to walk over to the bar and see what happens. The bartender stifles a belch and nods his greetings. "What can I do you for?" The way he grabs an earthenware mug suggests that it would probably be best to order something. You glance at Javek briefly before paying for 2 rounds of a local mushroom brew called Ash Tongue. It is somewhat less loathsome than you imagined. Leaning over your drink, you quietly tell the barman that you're here to see Narbo.
"Oh, you know, he's doing calculations, and he don't like to be bothered when he's doing calculations."
He indicates Narbo at the corner table with a nod. The entrepreneur is indeed busy poring over a stack of papers and fiddling with a calculus. Alright, so we're going to be a little bit courteous here because I think that in general, if we interrupt him on his business, whatever that may be, I think he's going to be kind of irritated. So I'm going to say that we're going to wait until he's done with his papers because what we have to say to him can probably wait a little bit longer if we've taken all this time to get here to begin with anyway. You chat with the bartender while sipping your beer, while most of it is boring small talk, but when the conversation turns into a discussion of local prices, you notice Javek's stern expression and the small hand gesture he makes. This is a signal you two have been using for a long time now, indicating that he has gleaned something from the man's surface thoughts. When minutes later the bartender goes to the back to check on the kitchen, Javek leans closer. "Apparently, there's a supplier of meat and mushrooms that has a surplus on his hands he wants to get rid of quickly." You can't help but smile and nod. This could save you quite a lot of coin. "Also, your friend Narbo seems to be having some trouble with a package. In his mind, it is a constant frustration in connection to the Heap King." You nod to Javek and notice how the sleazy merchant has stopped fiddling with the calculus and is now looking at some papers listlessly. It is time. Alright, so let's walk over to Narbo's table now. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Narbo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and a few missing teeth. Part of his face is covered in scars, similar to those left by old bones. That, coupled with the withered and mutated left arm that hangs limply at his side, is a clear indication of the taint. The merchant wears a leather jerkin studded with small bronze and bone coins, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard, a lithe man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather, moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the wall. Narbo's mouth falls open as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder. It has been 10 years.
"The fuck, mate?"
He blinks.
"I thought you croaked. People,
Narbo waves his good arm around and looks at his bodyguard.
Told tales of your demise.
The man finishes his sentence for him as the merchant nods vehemently.
That business with Kernak Outpost in the storm,
Narbo adds. You tell him that you were indeed at Kernak when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. You add how many of your original comitatus died there, close friends, old traveling companions. But you walked away unscathed. This was years ago.
Sheesh, that fucker Earphones looked after you something fierce, eh?
Narbo chuckles heartily.
But I'm sure you haven't come to reminisce about old times, eh?
His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. Alright, so we have three choices. Okay, so we could literally get into a fight right here very quickly, in my opinion, but we obviously do not want to do that. Our main concern is taking care of our comitatus, making sure we make some money, and getting down to business in a respectable fashion, shall we say. So let's apologize to him for the unfortunate way you parted 10 years ago, or get down to business right away, you have no time to spare, or remind him that you do not like threats. I mean, that's the point. It very much depends on what kind of personality this guy has, because it might be that he actually appreciates a little bit of backbone, you know? Because if I were to apologize to him, maybe he would see that as weakness, or maybe he would see that as a way for him to take advantage of our good nature, shall we say, in comparison to the third option that we have here, which is a little bit more aggressive, but it might inspire a little bit of respect from the man. So it's a bit of a difficulty, isn't it? Oh yes, okay, I'm gonna say, let's apologize to him, because I feel like if we did him dirty in the past, might be a good idea to, well, he probably won't care about this, to be honest, it's 10 years ago, but let's see.
Far as I could tell, you never did anything against me, eh?
Narbo shrugs with a wry smile.
Course you could have sent someone to
warn us. The bodyguard finishes the sentence. Back when Narbo and you parted ways, Avernum's Collegium was hot on your trails. They got offended by how you two outplayed them by smuggling in a shipment of exotic spices without their knowledge and selling it to a local nobleman's merchant house. You look at Narbo and tell him there was no way of warning him, or even knowing where he was after the chaos was unleashed following the heist in Avernum. You had to get your crew out of there, so you did. The merchant is fiddling thoughtfully with a stack of papers while listening to you.
I appreciate you coming clean, even if this sorry business was so many years ago,
he says after a long pause. The bodyguard becomes visibly less tense.
But something tells me that ain't all you came for still. So what is it?
You breathe in, time to outline your proposition. You explain to Narbo how you want him to give you a discount on a shipment of metal scraps, which you then would smuggle into Devon through contacts you have in the city's underworld. The profit on the shipment would be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you are done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile.
That sounds like you've been thinking about a long time about it.
Actually,
that sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it,
he says as he shifts in his chair.
And it's a great plan, except for the part where I gave you a discount for your asking and not much else. And I don't do that, mate. That would make me what,
an almoner, the bodyguard adds discreetly.
That a word?
Narbo looks up at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you.
Aye, an almoner, see? I'm no almoner. You know, you gotta do better than that. What you got for me?
Okay, so we can actually try to persuade him, as you can see right here. Some choices have dependencies. I mean, you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite. So in other words, perks, companions, resources, journal entries, and so on. Some choices involve tests that can be failed or succeeded with different consequences. Perks, characters, and resources can change the chance of success in tests. Test difficulty is represented by a number between 1 and 100 that you need to roll equal or below. Right. Okay, so we have a moderate chance of success to do this. Increase your chances of succeeding in the test by 10%. I'm gonna try this one. And we're gonna do this. Oh, did he actually say yes? Did that actually, test success? We did it. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, here we go.
I suppose you don't plan on croaking, just so I can't collect on said debt?
Narbo's chuckle turns into a short wheezing cough.
All right, well, I know you to be a man of your word, and we used to run together, so I know you're good. But just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. I'll collect right now, in fact. Headed to Devon by way of Avern, am I?
When you nod, Narbo leans closer and signals his bodyguard. The man with the dreadlocks steps closer and carefully produces a small packet from beneath his leather jerkin, then puts it into the merchant's palm.
This here little fellow is mighty important to me, see? If you take this out of the city and deliver it to my associate in Avernum, we're even. You get your discount scrap from me.
The merchant offers you the package. Javek draws in a breath before he could speak. Narbo interrupts him.
And before pretty boy here asks, no, I won't tell you what's in it, and don't even think about opening the package. What I can say is, it ain't dangerous to you itself, but, you might want to keep it hidden from the damn militia of good old crap ape.
You take the package. The way Narbo glares at you makes it clear that you have no other choice. This might just be the opportunity you had hoped for. The package is small enough to fit your palm, feels very light, and is wrapped in fine leather. You pocket it after briefly observing it.
You'll be looking for a man named Scornar in Avernum. He ain't to be trifled with either. Just tell him I sent you and you'll be fine. You can find him or his men in Lavinus's watering hole most of the time. Give this little fella to him and to him only, understand?
After you assure him you do, Narbo instructs you to give him an hour, then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you on the metal scraps by then. He motions to his man. You and Javek stand up and make ready to leave.
Brother here will take you to the back exit. We don't want to give people the idea they can come here to beg for almonds now, do we? Or anyone to connect us and run to the militia for that matter.
You got what you came for, so you leave the Wraith's stash through the back entrance and head back to the Comitatus. Alright, here we go. So now we have the ability to access our journal. As you can see here, your journal located in the bottom left is now active. It is your means to follow stories and tasks, and no doubt there's going to be a huge amount of them, so it's a good idea to keep track. Anyway, right, okay, good. Yes, that's absolutely fine. Very nice. So, there's the journal. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so it's actually not even an icon or anything like that. It is an actual ledger, a book that you can open up. That's actually super nice. All right, so it allows you to basically see everything. So see your objectives, your tasks, and your qualities. So for example, your statuses, gathered information, secrets, and so on. All right. So close your journal after checking your objectives. So if I click here, these are my objectives right now. And you can see these. You received a package from your old friend Narvo, and our objective is to deliver it to a man named Scornar in Avernum. And this is our main quest, I suppose you could call it. Find your contact and scrap him, strike a deal with him. We've already done that. And buy everything for the journey at the market. We need 24 scrap metal goods, have at least 800 supplies, and we need the awning's equipment. So that's good to know too. So let's close this up. The market pane is now active. Navigate to the market pane by clicking on the scales icon. There's the scales icon right there. The market pane displays the available goods you can buy at the settlement's market on the right and opens your cargo pane on the left. You can buy goods from the market or sell your own goods from your cargo hold here. So when buying or selling, buy or sell one increment only by clicking on the buy or sell icon, holding shift and clicking buys or sells a whole stack, and drag and drop the icon for buying or selling stacks of goods. Holding it and shift clicking the icon opens a window where you can specify the quantity you wish to sell or buy. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to purchase 24 scrap metal. So if I just literally go and just buy this. So if I could just literally click this entire stack. Ah, there we go. Okay. So let's buy all of this. Max. There we go. So we just bought all of that straight up. And additional supplies. Have at least 800 units. So how many units do I actually have at the moment? Okay, so you can see here that we have 250 per stack. So I need at least 800 units. So I need another 100, I guess. So let's just do I actually? That's 750. Yeah, I need another 100. So let's buy another one of those. There we go. And now I have enough. Equipment that you can attach to the Comitatus is sold on some markets or found throughout your travels. They provide bonuses and upgrades. You can switch between the market of goods and equipment using the buttons over the list of items on the market pane. So we can switch over to the equipment screen right here and we can buy these, which is obviously going to give us some kind of benefit. Purchase the awning's equipment, so let's buy that, and there we have it. Equipment you own are in a pool below the Comitatus illustration. In order to gain their bonuses, you need to equip them first by dragging and dropping them into an appropriate slot on the illustration. As you can see, there's a huge amount of different items and equipment that you'll be able to equip eventually once you have acquired most of it. Equipment can only be placed in a slot that matches its type, except that equipment of any type can be placed into the miscellaneous slot. You can unequip equipment by dragging it back into the list. So if I put it here, then there you go. And items, the third type of cargo, do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. They are used and traded in certain events. You can switch panes in a settlement. The active pane will open the corresponding pane of the Comitatus management on the left. You can now freely check the settlement tabs. When you're done exploring, do that. Okay, well, that's absolutely fine. I personally don't feel like I really need to go anywhere. Once you leave, you cannot come back to this place. So be sure to do everything you want to before venturing forth. Okay, well, thanks very much. So I can leave the settlement, and generally I think we're pretty good. We have supplies for 8 days. I have, obviously, as you can see here, I have an actual capacity limit as well, so you do have to bear that in mind when actually looking around and everything. And we can go and walk up to the tower, and we can go and visit the Heap King if we want to. But you know what? I'm not going to do that right now because I'd actually like to show you some of the combat if I can actually do that. So let's leave the settlement straight away. Packed up, restocked on supplies, and with all your business here concluded, you finally make ready to leave the decrepit town of Scrappy behind in the morning. Okay, you spend the night inside a guarded compound, not for free though, or on second thought there are still things you wish to explore. No, I'm fine with that. You spend the night inside a guarded compound, not for free though. There we go. You set out at dawn. Ash is flitting from the sky, and the distant mountains rumble ominously in the morning twilight as your Comitatus reaches the west gate of the town. You notice almost immediately that the militia at the gates is questioning and inspecting travelers. Move along towards the inspection. You realize that even if they are looking for the package Narbo gave you, there is a minuscule chance of finding it among several departing caravans, all made up of dozens of people respectively. Besides, the packet is tiny and well hidden at the bottom of a sack of dried mushrooms. A robed magistrate of the Heap King appears to coordinate the search effort, picking out people or even whole traveling groups for inspection. As your Comitatus draws near, it takes only a passing glance from him to check you and your crew before he motions to the guards to let you through. You quietly pass under the gate and out into the broken wastelands. The Comitatus is well on its way, and Scrap Heap is a mere dot on the horizon by the time Javek joins you at the front of the line. Just like I said, you made the right choice with this venture. Talk of how you may have saved us all is spreading like wildfire, he says with a faint smile. Of course, we do have to make it alive to Devon with the cargo, but it's a good start, don't you think? Yeah, well, we can nod in agreement. Well, there may be hope left for the Comitatus after all. And, you know, it's in a large part thanks to you and your abilities. Actually, that's true. I'm going to say thanks to him in a great way here, I think. Javek smiles as he bows his head in thanks. Not that I fully agree, but it's my pleasure to be of use. And I'm sure the journey will be fine. It's not like we started this business yesterday. With that, you both go back to your duties and the constant monitoring of the horizon. If all goes well, you should reach the Wound in a few days, where you can turn south along the edge of the Molten Tongue and travel down to Avernum. The journey continues, and so we have +3 morale from that, which is pretty good. Happy with that. And your progress is saved at checkpoints whenever you leave a settlement, reach a story-related checkpoint, as well as the start of each in-game day. Your game is saved automatically. Manual saving is unavailable in the tutorial. In the open world main campaign, you can save manually in the game menu except during combat and events. You can load your saved games from the load menu. Alright, good to know.
There they were, with a full cargo hold and filled with newfound hope. Yet, the road ahead still promised hardships and peril. I traveled with them southwards, expecting to reach more habitable lands beyond the Molten Tongues river of lava.
Alright, so let's have a look-see. So you can bring up the main menu by right-clicking, actually, so that's pretty interesting as well. But I guess we'll just we'll move this way. The crew management UI is now active. Click on the sheet in the top left corner to open it. This? No. This one? I have no idea. This? I guess this is it, yes. The crew management window allows you to manage your comitatus. Morale is the general mood. Obedience indicates how satisfied your slaves are. Low obedience leads to theft, runaways, and worse. Oh dear. Also, morale is really bad because if it drops to 1, there's a chance that the comitatus dissolves and you lose the game. Oh no, that is bad. Nutrition shows you how well fed your crew is. Low nutrition incurs penalties. Extra rations raise nutrition while starving your crew repeatedly lowers it. And vigor indicates how tired the comitatus is. Low vigor results in penalties on tests and in a drastically slower comitatus, which can spell doom quite fast. You can see the current effects of your vigor below the rating. Upkeep is how much you owe your crew. You can pay them at the end of each day or keep collecting debt. Consumption is how much food your crew consumes each day. Running out of supplies leads to a quick death. Well, of course. Workforce is generated by workers and slaves. You have to have enough workforce to cover the comitatus' needs, including beasts, crew, and passengers. Okay. And passengers are people your comitatus takes to their destinations for rewards. You can take on passengers in some events and settlements. They also consume supplies. So do bear that in mind. As you can see, we actually have a wandering old man. I assume that's the narrator at the moment. Here you can see the number of each crew and beast type you have in your comitatus. Consult the tooltip for each type to learn more about their role. Outriders are special because you need a fighter and a mount to be able to create an outrider by using the plus icon. While outriders are excellent fighters, mounts with outriders carry cargo. You can always dismount fighters using the minus button. For now, add an outrider, then close this. Okay, so let's add an outrider. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so let's continue to move on then. Okay, nothing going on there. I'm actually really surprised. Okay, so we can only go up to here. You have run out of movement points and need to camp ending the day. Being on the road all day, spending all of your MP, lowers the vigor of your comitatus that you can replenish by camping. You can also camp earlier, rather than run out of MP, which helps raise vigor faster. Select the camp icon. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. At the end of each in-game day, the comitatus makes camp and settles down for the night. Supplies are consumed and movement points are refreshed after camping. At each camp, you can decide to offer normal or double wages for the current day, independent on whether you pay them or not. Double payment increases morale. You can also choose to pay all your debts to your crew at this time, or accrue payments, pay later, but the longer you delay, the grumpier the crew gets. Obedience and nutrition also appear here, as well as the options to discipline or liberate slaves. Workforce shows so much workforce, and so on and so forth. Okay. Fantastic. Under hunting and foraging, you can send your crew out into the wasteland to find supplies and sometimes even other goods. Base chances for these activities depend on your related perks, deputies, crew, and the region you are in. As you can see, it's very, very in-depth, and that's exactly the reason why the Steam Store page has the warning, this game is hardcore, you should probably be aware of that before you actually purchase it. Yeah, but you can play the free prologue if you are a little bit wary. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go for it. The summary of what happened to your crew that day can be seen on the right. So you can see here that we have our 2 companions there as well. Companions heal naturally. Okay, when you have everything set up, click the end day button. You must also set your defense orders for the night. Okay, rations 100%. I think that's perfectly fine. Let's see. You know, what? Liberate one or more of your slaves to gain obedience? Let's do that. Ah, now that's nice. We gain one worker as a result of that, and we free one of our slaves. I actually quite like that. Okay. Post no guards? Are you serious? We're going to lose morale, we're going to lose obedience, but we're going to gain vigor. No bonuses, no penalties. I'm going to post guards, and we're just going to have a sufficiently armed crew right there. I think that's pretty good. And I think we're going to pay. How much do I have to pay? Oh, not even that much, really. That is really not that much at all. So we're going to do pay now. And we're just going to end the day. Oh, actually, we could do some hunting. Send out your scouts to hunt. They can return with supplies and sometimes other goods as well. Results depend on the hunting roll. Oh, critical failure is really bad. Might lose scouts and vigor, but we're gonna try it. Okay, no, we're not gonna try that. Oh, this might work. We have a 51% chance, 2% chance for critical failure. I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, let's try that one. Shall we? We can send both of them, actually. Let's send both and do that. There we go. Success. 71. And we gained... What is it? 30 surprise? 30 surprise. Yes, we gained 30 surprise. No. We gained 30 supplies. That's pretty good. Alright, I'm happy with that. Let's continue onward. And we can camp once again. Okay, we're going to pay now once more. And I think we'll probably liberate some more slaves. I'm not entirely sure why I would keep slaves, to be honest. Am I not understanding that completely? Or maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not entirely sure. But I think we're pretty good here. Toggle medical supplies. Okay, yeah, that's not actually that big a deal. And I guess we should do... We should probably do a little bit more hunting and foraging, right? But that loses us vigor, so we have to be careful about that. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that this time. Alright, so everything seems to be set up just fine. Defense orders, I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay, but I don't really want to lose morale or anything like that, so we're at a higher chance of ambush as well, so I'm just going to post a sufficient crew this time as well. After a long day's march under bleak skies and harassed by hot winds, the Comitatus finally settles down in a wide ravine. After taking care of camp chores and checking on all your commes, you go to your tent and tuck in for the night. There are benefits to sleeping out in the wasteland. The silence is quite calming, tranquil even. Only the murmur of the distant fire-belching mountains, the whisper of the wind, and the occasional groans of your beasts can be heard. Except something else is making a muffled noise you do not recognize. Your eyes flick open. Something is wrong. What in Tartarus is it now? You rise to check it out. Leaving your tent and passing the sleeping beasts, you are just about to call to a guard when you stumble upon a large quadrupedal creature covered with fused bone protrusions. It is munching on supplies scattered across the ground, evidently from a torn-open sack lying nearby. The creature is a Jacra, a wasteland scavenger that hunts in packs. Before you can utter a word, the monster charges you. And out of the shadows, Morwen leaps at it, tackling it aside and cutting its hide with her bone axe in a follow-up swing. You breathe out, realizing that she has probably just saved your life. Javek runs up to you just as the creature backs off and lets out a long howl. There's more of these things. There's more of these accursed things, boss. Must have sneaked past the perimeter guards. They're trying to chase him off, he blurts out. As he does, you can hear yelling and the sounds of a battle from around camp. The wounded Jacra is joined by another one from behind a cargo pile, and the two of them start circling you. Javek steps beside Morwen as they get ready for the fight. Alright, so here we go. This is the first battle that we're getting into. I'm really happy about this, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the combat system is like. So, companion combat is turn-based, where 1 to 6 enemies fight against your team of 1 to 6 companions. You can use the skills of your companions to defeat your enemies, protect your companions, and set yourself up in advantageous positions on the combat board. Companion combat is made up of rounds. Each round, all the participants take turns to act, and when everyone has had their turn, the current round ends and a new round is started. This goes on until either your companions or your enemies are defeated. Combat boards is defended, or should we say, divided into two sides. The friendly side, where your companions and occasional allies are, and the opponent side, which is on the right, where your enemies are. Each side has a front row, melee row, and a back row where the ranged characters are. Each row has 3 positions. Certain skills can only be used when standing in a position in the appropriate row. Okay, let's begin the fight. The order in which combatants receive their turns is according to their initiative. At the beginning of each round, all active combatants add 1 to 6, it's randomized, to their initiative to determine in which order they will progress through the round, starting from the highest initiative. The initiative order, on the top left, shows the order in which combatants receive their turns. Wise leaders use this information to plan ahead. Alright, so this guy's going to be attacking first. Not very pleased about that, thank you very much. Melee skills can only be used from the front row. They can only target front row enemies that are adjacent to the attacker's position, or back row enemies if no front row enemy blocks them. Because of these rules, positioning in melee is paramount. All characters can move, which is the footprint icon, to any adjacent position on their own side. If they move into a position that is occupied by another character, that character is pushed out of the position it occupies and has to be moved into an adjacent free position, even to the position the other character has just left. Not only do characters in the front row prevent melee attacks against characters directly behind them, but also make them more difficult to hit with certain range skills, those that have the line of sight property. So obviously if we have Morwen standing in front of Javek here, then that is going to be, yeah, exactly, that's what they're telling me to do right now. So let's do this. Each companion has 4 combat skills, besides move, represented by the row of icons below their name. Use Mind Blast to attack one of your opponents. Okay, so here we go, we've got Mind Blast, let's attack this one. There we go, that dealt 3 damage, that's pretty decent. Morwen's skills include options to push front row enemies back, in the form of Savage Kick, and to pull back row enemies to the front, Whiplash. Some skills are more complex, for example including a move and an attack, which is Strafe. These type of skills can be used to great effect in controlling your enemies. So use Morwen's Savage Kick to send the Jakra enemy to the back row, denying it an attack, because obviously it can't attack from the back row, I assume. So let's do that. There we go. And now it has to move, you see? That's exactly the reason why we wanted to push it back, because then it basically can't do anything, which is really nice. And you can consult the combat log anytime to see exactly what has occurred. The log is scrollable, but if you wish to see more of it, click it to open it fully. The character sheet can be opened by clicking its icon, the 3 lines at the portrait, and yeah, okay. Defeat your enemies. Alright, let's do it. I'm happy with that. Okay, so what's this? Hypnosis. A single target moves to where you command it, and what else do we have? Premonition. The caster and a single ally receive a bonus. Ooh, that sounds fun. Let's do that. Oh yeah, I like that. And this guy's gonna move forward, that's absolutely fine. And I'm thinking we'll probably use something amazing here. Hit 2 adjacent enemies in the same row, then move to the side? I don't really want to do that. Powerful strike. Let's use Devastating Blow. Now we can use Mind Blast. Yeah, I'm going to use Mind Blast again against this one. I cannot believe that we did not finish that off, actually. There we go, we actually finished it off now. That's fantastic. Okay, let's use Savage Kick. Oh, he evaded! He evaded, I can't believe it. Okay, let's use, oh no, he got pushed back. Okay, that's fantastic. I'm actually surprised that he got pushed back right there. I thought to myself, ah no, he evaded, he's not going to be able to do that. But yeah, thankfully we do have the ability to push back, and that's going to enable Morwen to finish him off, and there you go. That is a victory for us in the brutal turn-based combat. The 2 Jakra lie dead at your feet. Morwen wipes the foul-smelling blood from her axe blade as a guard arrives and talks to her. You okay, boss? Javek pats you on the shoulder. You nod, turning to Morwen as she approaches you. All hostiles taken care of, she says. They got to some of the food, but we could take their meat and other parts to make up for it. Okay, harvest the damn critters before going back to bed. Perhaps you'll gain something from this in the end. Yeah. There we go. We gained 2 ivory, 90 supplies, and some hides. I like it. I like it. All right, and you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to actually end this episode off here. And if you would like to check out Vagrus, there is a link in the description. I'd highly recommend it if you're into hardcore RPGs. There's a lot of text. Obviously, they do mention that on the Steam store page. They're being very transparent about what the game is, and I very much appreciate that, because sometimes games, they just don't tell you, exactly what you're not expecting. Basically, you expect something like a turn-based RPG where you're able to get into combat within the first 5 minutes, and then it turns out to be something completely different. But they don't do that. These developers very obviously care about what they're doing here, and maybe you will too. So yeah, as I say, link in the description. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.